Hello, my friends. I am Dr. Charlene Reeves with the Heart-Based Business Show, and I'm so excited that you are here with me as usual. I apologize for not being here last week. I honestly just didn't know what to say. But since that time, I have had a lot of time to think about what I want to talk to you most about today. And my big question to you is, are you at the end of your rope and you don't know what to do to rekindle the love in your current relationship or create and trust a new relationship? Today, I'm going to provide you with a few ideas that you might not have thought about. But first of all, I need to take this little break, and then I will be right back with you. And welcome back. Thank you for joining me. You know, this has been so tough since COVID started. I really had to work with a lot of clients who are having challenges with their relationships, because when it comes to relationships, you may be feeling scared or frustrated, and sometimes you might feel like a complete failure. Have you ever felt that way? I sure have in the past. Boy, I was like, you just throw up your hands. You don't know what to say or what to do, but you're not alone, especially since the COVID debacle began. Oh my gosh, that has put millions of relationships in peril, and people are experiencing economic stress, social isolation, decreased access to community support, and the 24/7 news coverage has created a tremendous amount of anxiety, depression, and tension, to say the least. But this time may also have given you some important conclusions about how you want your life to be in the future, and where you want to live, and who you want to be with. And that's why I'm talking to you today about relationships. I would love to see you save your relationships. And because at one point there was a lot of love there, right? When you first were together, wasn't there a lot of love and affection and sex even? Lots of good stuff came of your relationship. But you know, when we're together too much, it causes a problem. And I have a client who recently came to me in a great deal of pain, and she's pretty much given up on her relationship because she doesn't feel seen, heard, or respected. And she does everything possible to make others happy, but receives so little in return. And that's what the problem is. And this is because people instinctively know who those are that will always say yes. Does that relate to any of you? It's like you have a target on your back, and you'll hear yourself say something like, after all I've done for you, you treat me this way? Have you ever felt that way? Well, then you may be a people pleaser if you've ever felt it's this way. Now, this doesn't mean you should never say yes. You can always say yes if it's something that you want to do. But the answer is no if what is being asked of you isn't in your best interest. You got that? Isn't in your best interest. So that would mean you'd need to know what your best interest is first. Nothing that wastes your time, or should I say, nothing that wastes time for you is in your best interest, because that's how you see it. You see it as a waste of time. So here is where boundaries become so important. And this has to do a lot also when you are working in a business and somebody wants to jump on board and be a part of whatever mastermind you're doing or whatever webinar you're doing. You know, because you'll end up doing it all. I promise you. If you like to please people, you will end up doing it all. So what I want you to do first is to sit down and outline what you're willing to do and what you aren't willing to do. How far are you willing to go for somebody else? You know, this same client I was just talking about, every morning she gets a call from her mom, and her mom gives her instructions on what she wants her daughter to do that day. And this poor woman so doesn't feel respected. And as a result, she's becoming resistant, antagonistic, and resentful because her mom never makes an effort to support her when she needs the help. Now, usually, when you're a people pleaser, you are the one who does it all, and no one seems to be there when you are in need. Have you noticed that? No one seems to be there when you need the help. I had this happen my own self when I was needing support when I got my divorce. I really wanted support from my friends, but they weren't there for me. I had always been there for them, but they weren't there for me. And I learned the hard way that we have to learn to set boundaries. It's really important. So what are your boundaries? How far will you go in order to keep somebody else happy so your life is happy? Have you thought about that? Because if you are always pleasing everybody else, you too are going to become resentful and antagonistic. And in fact, you may already relate to that with some people that you know that are always asking you to do things for them that you don't want to do. And for a long time, my client's mom would have her daughter return stuff. This was before COVID. And every day she'd have something for her daughter to return because she kept ordering stuff online. And then the daughter would have to take it to the post office or whatever to return it. And it took a lot of time out of her day. And it was super, super annoying. And you really can't trust others when they have no regard for your needs, right? When they don't care about what you think or what you need done, they just take up your time and you can't get your things done. So this creates a lot of relationship misunderstandings and blame. So here's my suggestion for you where that's concerned. Sit down with a piece of paper or a tablet or a journal or whatever you want to do and set your boundaries. And I seriously mean set your boundaries, lay them out. What are you willing to do? And practice saying no. No is not such a bad word. And by the way, you don't have to explain your no. You don't have to tell anybody why you're saying no. You just say, you know what? I think that isn't going to work for me. And I've said that with people that want to work with me. I just say, no, I don't think that's going to work for me. I don't have to give any excuse as to why. I don't have to tell them what my perspective is of the no and the why attached to it. So just say no and let it hang in the air. But first you have to decide the parameters of your boundaries and how far you are willing to go before saying no. And this all has to do with communication. Communication issues are a really big challenge. If you remember back to what I said earlier in the show, we all need to be seen, heard, and respected. So when it comes to communication, the best thing you can do is practice your active listening skills. Listening gives you a huge advantage, but only if you aren't thinking about what you're going to say next. And I know we all do that. You know, somebody's coming at us saying, I want you to do this and I want you to do that. And we're thinking in our mind, what am I going to say about this? What am I going to say next? And we're not really even paying attention to what that person is saying. Now, a lot of times when you're paying attention to what they're saying, then and only then can you ask them an intelligent question. If it's something you're willing to do, you could say, well, when do you need this done? What is the drop dead date for when you need this done? That's a biggie. What is the drop dead date for when you need this done. I get a lot of this in business. I need your picture. I need your bio. I need your da, 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 da. And I'd say, okay, so what is your drop dead date on this? Give me a date and I'll get it to you by that time. That doesn't mean I'm going to disrupt everything I'm doing in that moment and do it. And that's why I asked for that drop dead date. And you could do that with your mom. That's what I advise my client to do. Or anybody else that you are living with or have a relationship with. Ask, when do you have to do that? It could even be just taking out the garbage. Okay, I'll take out the garbage. When do you need me to take the garbage out by? What is the drop dead time for taking the garbage out? Now, if someone says, right now, you have to take it out right now, that's not very fair. That's where your boundaries come in. That's where you say, I understand that you want me to take it out right now, but I don't have the time to do it right now. So how much time do I have in order to complete this for you? That's only if you say yes. You could also say, no, I'm tired of taking the garbage out. I'm always the one that's stuck doing that. I think that you should do it this time. Or, name somebody else in the family. Maybe it's one of your children or whatever. This person could take it out. But ask for that drop dead date. That gives you time. And it also gives people an opportunity to see, yes, you do respect them. You're hearing what they have to say. You see what their needs are, but you're just not willing to do it right now because that is your boundary. Now, when it comes to your active listening skills, you get a huge advantage, but only, as I said, if you're not thinking about what you're going to say next. You want to focus on getting a clear-cut understanding of what the other person is saying, what their needs are. And if you are thinking really carefully and listening to what they're saying, you can read between the lines or listen between the lines so that you can get a better feel of what's going on inside. If you aren't listening, you won't know what to do to keep the communication open and honest. And that's what you want to do, is keep it open. Even with your teams, keep the communication open. Listen to what they have to say, even if you don't agree, because I'm going to address that in just a few minutes. Now, this person, they wouldn't be talking to you in the first place if they weren't really concerned about what it is they're talking to you about. And if they're concerned, you need to be concerned and just listen to them so that you can come to agreement that works well for both of you. Communicating means that you respect each other, that you can save a relationship, because it's the most personal thing you'll ever do. Otherwise, you're dealing with guilt and blame, because those are the front runners, right? Guilt and blame. You walk away feeling so guilty. Oh, I wish I hadn't have said that. And your mind told you that you should have said that before, but now you're wishing you couldn't have said that or shouldn't have said that. That's why they're the front runners. But if you use your active listening skill, you won't need to deal with guilt and blame, because you'll acknowledge that you hear what's being said. Now, if it's a person that isn't willing to listen to you, that's a whole different story. That is a whole different counseling session because you have to think about it differently and how to work with them. And a lot of people who come to me have a narcissist for a spouse or a partner, and they don't know how to deal with that person. And that is something that it has to be specially treated. I can't just come on here and talk to you about what to do, although there are some experts on YouTube that talk about narcissism all the time. So if you think that you have that in your life and you are up against it, then go listen to those YouTube videos on narcissism, because it'll give you a tremendous insight on how they think and how you should deal with them. They even tell you what to say in response to them. So what you want ultimately is a continued stream of communication and thought toward what you both want. And once you're on the field, it's your job to be clear and stay focused in your communication without any doubt in your mind that that is what you are going to do. Now, if you don't know what you want, you'll never manifest anything other than what you are experiencing right now, which may not be quite what you want. And if you're unhappy, this is something that's really important that I want to talk to you about. If you're unhappy, it's because life isn't happening the way you want it to happen, right? Isn't that right? But thinking negatively and dwelling on why life isn't the way you want it will cause life to continue on the same path. But what you want to do is make life better, right? So the problem is that everybody can't, all cannot happen based on your expectations. That's what I want you to know. Everything is not based on you. And nothing happens 100% of the way you want it. And if it did, no one could live with you, right? No one could live with you. Could you imagine right now, we've been at home for almost a year, right? And if everything had to be the person's way that you're living with right now, would you be able to deal with that? No. And so think about it on your side too. Nothing happens 100% the way you want it either. So that is where we have to share. We have to be kind to each other. We have to be loving, and we have to think with our heart instead of our head. Now, you might be thinking, if I'm miserable, that one should fix it. If this one is angry, this one must fix it. But our mind is our greatest gift, but it's also our greatest manufacturing machine of misery. Think about it. How would you live if everyone thought just like you? It would be such a boring life, wouldn't it? If everybody walked around, talked like you, thought like you, did like you, oh my gosh, what a boring life that would be. No two people think alike. Let me just tell you that. And what's happening in your mind is only a dream, a fabrication of what might happen or what did happen. Think about it. I work with so many people, and I talk to them about their 2-year-old because their 2-year-old is running the show. All of my clients who have had their treatments know about these 2-year-olds because the 2-year-olds want what they want, and it's always everybody else's fault if they don't get it. Wah, right? They're living in the dream that everybody's supposed to wait on them. Everybody's supposed to do whatever they expect. Everybody is supposed to rally around behind them and become their best friend and do what they need you to do. Well, those people are very difficult for a people pleaser. And the biggest challenge is our mind is so ridiculously fickle. And you'll recall this when I tell you, because one day your mind thinks one way and you get on it and you do it and you go, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I'm going to have a discussion and we're going to fix this. And, it's good that you're deciding to have a discussion and that you want to fix it. That is the first motivation. But we get frustrated because we decide we want to fix it and then it isn't fixed just the way we want it. And so our mind says, no, that's not the way we want to do it. We want to do it this other way. And it becomes a nightmare. That's why I say to you, sit down and write down what your boundaries are. And then next, write down where you want to take your relationship. And hopefully you aren't going to say you want to give up on it. Because there's so many couples I've worked with and they fall back in love again and they're so happy after they've been working together and with me. It's just amazing to see how it works. But the big thing is, do everything you can to recognize when you are trying to live your life through past experiences. If you are living your life through past experiences, then it's impossible to shift your life into something better. What I want you to do is just throw out the past, let it go, and focus on what you want. Our energy is so high right now that you can have pretty much anything you want, but you have to remember, good or bad, you're going to get it. It's whatever you say, whatever you're thinking all the time. If you're thinking, oh, I want this relationship to be so fabulous, it will be fabulous because that's what you will create. But if you think, I want this relationship to be so fabulous, but in the past, even after I do the treatment for people, they go back and try to use the past as a foundation for a future decision. That's the worst thing you can do, because then you'll just live that past all over again. And I don't think you want to do that. That's the whole point here, is to be looking to the future so that you can alleviate the frustration and the confusion that you've been experiencing all along. So stay away from the past. As soon as you hear yourself say, yeah, but when I did this before, or yeah, but just a month ago, or yeah, but just a week ago. No, if you want to keep the relationship, if you want to keep this person in your life that you cared about so much, then you have to look toward the future. You have to make your life about the future and not the past. And if you do, you will ultimately have a beautiful, comfortable relationship. I don't care if it's with your mom or your brother or your spouse or your partner. It doesn't really matter. You will have a fabulous relationship if you focus only on the future. Because believe me, the trap is an inside job, and you might need a little outside help. Just saying. Because sometimes we can't see ourselves through all of this. We can't see the difficulty that we're going through. And we need help from the outside. Relying on the memories of the past, I've already talked about, because relying on those for what's to come in the future is a losing battle, totally a losing battle. So focus on the future as if you've never taken a step in the past. But of course, that's easier said than done, because we tend to get all caught up, don't we? We tend to get really frustrated and upset. And then we're in it and we can't get out of it because we can't see it another way. So that's what I mean by easier said than done. But remember that outside help is not a bad thing. It just helps you see it differently. And that's what I do with my clients. I'll put a little link down below so you can learn a little bit more about what I've been doing to help my clients. Oh my gosh, I love seeing them soar. Oh, wow. I want them to do even better than me. And money tends to rain on them. They get fabulous things to do that they never expected they were going to be asked to do. It just shifts everything when we pull ourselves out of the past and focus on the future. But remember, please remember, if you got anything out of what I said to you today, remember, everyone wants to be seen, heard, and respected. If any one of those fails, your relationship fails. So don't let go of your relationship. Keep working on it and keep moving forward. And get the help you need. It's never good to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You've come too far in a relationship to just let go. Don't give up on you and keep moving forward. That's it for today, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. I always appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you next week.